Hi everyone, this is Natalie Willis, the baby sleep trainer, and I want to talk a little bit about how to actually put your baby to sleep at night. So usually most of the stuff I talk about has to do with sleep training. This is a question I can answer that's a little bit more general, but I don't know, is your baby 6 weeks old or 4 months old or 3 years old? It can vary a lot how you choose to put your child to sleep depending on their age. What I would recommend is that if your baby is young enough that they still have a milk feeding, so formula, breast milk, bottle, nursing, however you choose to do it, a good practice is to separate your baby's final feeding of the night from going to sleep by about 30 minutes. So if you're aiming for a 7 o'clock bedtime, try to feed your baby or maybe around 6:30 and try to do it in a pretty well-lit room. It doesn't have to be a distracting environment, but you do want to make it an environment where your child is able to take their complete feeding and stay completely awake. You want to follow that feeding with whatever remains in your routine. Another thing sometimes parents are not really sure about is what should be part of their child's bedtime routine. If you're going to start with a feeding, it's a good idea to follow it with a bath or a massage or even a couple of books, but you don't have to worry that you have to have a super intensive bedtime routine in order for your child to be able to sleep well. In fact, the more alert and awake you can keep them throughout the routine, the more likely they are to be able to put themselves to sleep successfully on their own when you choose to begin sleep training. Now, let's say that your child relies on nursing or bottle feeding in order to fall asleep, and if you move that to the beginning of the routine, you say, well, what then? This is when you might need to get into some sleep training principles because you want to make sure that your child's able to fall asleep independently at bedtime and also for naps. So you may want to spend a couple of minutes trying to calm them down and then putting them down awake. Of course, if your child is not used to falling asleep on their own, then they're going to cry, and that might not be something you're comfortable with, which is okay. But if you are thinking about starting sleep training, that's when you can proceed into using whatever sleep training method you are planning on using. If you have an older child, same thing. You want to keep them calm but alert throughout their entire bedtime routine so that when they finally go in the dark, their body has a chance to release that melatonin and go to sleep for the night. If you have any other questions about this subject, please be sure to post your question in the comments and be sure to subscribe. See you next time.